Hello, I'm Sandhya Krishnan and welcome to Dynamic Living. A life's purpose. It's a really tough question to answer. And I like to quote Baz Luhrmann here, the director, who had this very famous song called Everybody Should Wear Sunscreen. He said that some of the most interesting people I've met don't know at 40 what they want to do with their lives. And really, that's okay too. What's most important is that you find something authentic to do with your life. And if that comes to you when you're 60 or 70 or 80, it's still a life worth having lived. The corollary to that, and one could argue that, well, I won't say it's not a life worth having lived, but because you won't even be aware of it, is the unthinking nature of our lives, right? Where we simply go in our preset routes, in play the expected roles that we believe is what we ought to be doing, or just have an unthinking life. That to me is a life without much meaning, without much purpose. Surely we're more than just worker ants. Even if you are meant to be a worker ant, you should make that choice yourself. And you better tell yourself that you want to be the best worker ant that you can possibly be. That's a life well lived. That's a life with purpose. Now that was all quite esoteric. How does one actually get down to the business of finding one's purpose? Rather than looking forward, I'm going to suggest that you look back a little, right? In Vedanta philosophy, we have this beautiful concept of swadharma, or your true calling. And the way one finds that or identifies that is to just look at who we are unfettered, who we are in our most childlike state, who we are in a state of play. So literally, what is it that you like doing? When do you most feel like yourself? Look back to your own childhood quite literally. What was it that you enjoyed doing most? My brother, for example, he loved taking apart cars, machines, clocks, anything that he could get his hands on. To this date, his most treasured pastime is his workshop, where he works with his hands, where he builds things. Now, that may not be his profession, but he's been able to find a balance because of the second thing that I want to talk about, which is your obligations. Now, we have the concept of karma, where we understand that karma is fate. It's something that's predetermined. Let me give you a different perspective to it. What you can call karma is everything that's happened in your life. Now, we don't know how far back that goes. Different philosophies and different religions and different sciences have different explanations to this. However far back we go, it's everything that has brought you to this very moment today. And that is unchangeable. That is your unchangeable past, which has brought you to this present. What you choose to do from this moment on is your choice, is the karma that you are going to create for yourself. So we have certain obligations, right? We may have a family in which there is a person who's dependent on us. It could be our parents. It could be a sibling. It could be somebody who's handicapped in some way. It could be our own kids. It could be a dog you have to look after, right? Or it could be a mortgage that you have to pay off. Now, these are all obligations. These are all things that have happened in your past, and that's what's brought you here. You cannot do anything to change them, but what you can do is accept it with grace. There's nobody who's born into ideal circumstances, no matter how you might believe that that's true, looking at somebody else. Or if they do believe that their life is perfect, they're either really self-realized or they're somewhat ignorant, right? They just haven't come across that next big hurdle yet that's broken them or buffeted them about. So everybody has had their events, has had their past. The best thing you can do is to just wear it like a light summer coat. Yes, my brother loved tinkering with his hands, but perhaps that was not what was going to be able to earn him enough to make the choices that he'd already made. He has a family, they want to live a particular lifestyle, they want to live in a particular country. So therefore, he's been able to find work that still uses his hands, mind you. He works in logistics. So Yes, it's a lot of brain, but in a sense, it's a lot of tinkering, it's a lot of play. He loves that work. And with that, when you find work that puts you in your flow, there is a lovely concept called the state of flow, where you're doing something that's just a little bit challenging. It's not so easy that you get bored of it, but you're doing it and you don't even realize that time has passed, right? You ever catch yourself doing that sometimes when you're doing like a really interesting crossword puzzle, or if you playing a piece of music, or if you're doing like a math problem, if math is your thing and you don't even know where the time has gone. That's when you're in your state of flow. Find these activities that put you in that state. Understand what your obligations are. Find the best way to merge these two. And I'll add a third into the mix, which is that see what value you want to bring to this world. As far reaching as the value that you can bring can be, that much more amazing is going to be your life. Now, this is a bigger concept for us to discuss. We'll talk about it some other time. But trust me on this one, it's what will also give you the most peaceful and happy life, because your goals are not selfish goals, which can then trip you up that much harder. When your world is just this small, it's going to come across a lot of things which are going to push it about or break it or crush it or topple it. But when your world is this big, when your base is that large, there's very little that can rock that boat. You have that much more stability, you have that much more gravitas, you have that much more depth, you have that much more strength, and you can create that much more impact. That's a life well lived.